Hereby call this meeting to order. This is the April 2nd, 2018 special school board meeting. At this time, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any items board members wish to move from consent to action? Mr. Searcy.
Consent B15 to action.
Okay.
Please.
So moving B15 from consent to action. Any further movement? Okay, at this time, the chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
Okay, so,
Second.
okay, Mr. Searcy moves. Mrs. Work second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, there are no presentations for this meeting. There are no citizen input requests. At this time, we will consider consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Simchick moves approval. Mrs. Justice with a second. Would you like to speak to your motion in a second?
No.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, having moved consent B15 to the action, at this time we will take up that matter. Entertain a motion, and then we'll discuss.
I'll make a motion to approve B15.
Okay, Mrs. Simchick moves approval of B15.
Second.
Mrs. Justice, your second. Would you like to speak to your motion in your second? Okay. Mr. Searcy,
I'll speak to after a discussion, if any comments on discussion, since I did not pull it, and I would have approved it under consent.
okay, very fine. Mr. Searcy, since you
My-
pulled the item?
My question is this the same person that we had the issues with at Gifford Middle that we just removed this last year or within the past year or so?
It is the same person.
Is that the best we can do?
I feel like this was the right selection for this position at this time.
I can't support it. The issues that we had at Gifford Middle, it doesn't make sense to me to appoint that person in that position with the experience that we had before. And I know you have the personnel is yours, but it doesn't say that I've got to vote for it. And I will not support it because it's not right. It's not right for the kids. It's not right for anybody, for that person who has already basically failed us at Gifford Middle to be appointed to oversee those kids the rest of this year. And I know it's an interim kind of thing, but that's not what we should be about.
Okay. Any further discussion? Mrs. Simchick, you're
Yes,
recognized.
first of all, and again, we are just speaking in an opinion point of view. So in my opinion, she did not fail. We set her up for failure. She was placed in the school where it was very difficult for someone where the teachers' union president resides. Every complaint with a union issue runs to that president during school hours. Additionally, she was never welcomed because of the situation at that school. I am very, very ecstatic that the new principal is doing well. My mother would always say every pot has a lid, but I believe that lady should never have been removed. At the time, though, she could have been removed to a different school because we have that happen a lot. For me, my opinion is that was not the right fit. It was very shameful that a woman with such a solid and outstanding career had to even go through that. But I was very much against it at the time. She had a fine evaluation from our superintendent for her work at Gifford, and but I understand you can't always have openings when openings, so for me, that's why I will be supporting it, because at the time, and to further add, that if our superintendent supports it and feels it, and actually it is a good fit. Too bad it would have been a better fit as her first principal position, but it's assistant principal because the principal at Sebastian is out between now and June, so we need someone to fill in, and I think it's a great fit. So I will be supporting it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Zork, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to ditto what Mr. Searcy has brought forth, and I just want to say that I do disagree with most of what Mrs. Simchek has brought forth, and when I did see it, I was very disappointed that we were put in a situation again publicly to discuss this.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion carries 3-2. Okay. On to our action agenda, item A, approval to purchase welding equipment for the Technical Center and Career and Adult Education from multiple vendors. Dr. Rendell, will you present the item, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In action item A, we are seeking approval to issue purchase orders to multiple vendors that will provide the new Technical Center for Career and Adult Education, currently under construction in Gifford, with welding equipment and fixtures that are necessary to support the proposed programs at the new site. This item is a continuation of the project whereby the purchasing department is requesting approval to release related purchase orders perpetually without delay, verifying and documenting that all purchases comply with School Board Policy 6320. The funding for this purchase of the program equipment and furnishings is provided by the 0.50 essential operating millage referendum proceeds that were approved by the voters in August of 2016. The estimated cost impact for these purchases is $340,085.05. We're seeking your approval to issue these POs.
Okay. This time, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval. Second.
Mrs. Justice moves approval. Mrs. Zork seconds. Would you like to speak to your motion, ma'am?
I'm happy that we have a special business meeting to approve this and to continue to move forward with this project. I'm excited for the August 2018 opening and for creating more opportunities for our students to excel in our classrooms and beyond.
Thank you. Mrs. Zork?
I agree.
I agree, okay. Mr. Searcy, no,
Go ahead.
Chair always goes last.
You-
Mr. Searcy, I recognize you have questions, comments, I recognize for a
Is this
series.
is this the same item that was pulled at the last school board meeting?
It's related to the item that was pulled at the last school board meeting. The item at the last school board meeting had some other purchase orders as well. Some of those purchase orders had bid dates that were out of date. They were old bids, and we wanted them to come back with new bids. This particular equipment, all these bids are up to date and current, and this equipment we need to purchase as soon as possible to stay on to the timeline for the construction of the site. We will be bringing back some of the other equipment for approval later.
I agree with the purchase that we need to make, but I feel disappointed that the employees that you have under you brought to this board action items that had to be removed from the agenda because they didn't do their homework. And it's not fair to you. It's not fair to anybody. When you have bids that come in that are 3 or 6 months out of date, somebody's failed. It wasn't you, and I can't expect you to look at every single figure, look every single thing exactly right, but your name was on the recommendation.
That's right.
So you're going to get a little bit of criticism, but the criticism is directed to you, I guess, but it's to those folks under you. And you need to be able, in my opinion, you need to be able to have full faith that what is presented to you by those underlings is exactly right. And I don't think it was in the last situation, and I just think that it's not responsible on their part to send that to us because it went through several different folks before it got to you. So that's my criticism. I want the program to go. I want it to be successful, but at some point you have to be able to depend on the numbers that you recommend. And so that's my 2 cents. I'm going to support it, but I'm not supporting the bad addition, I guess, and bad things that came to you before this. Just wasn't right.
Dr. Rendell, would you like to comment
Yes,
to that?
thank you, Mr.
Speak to that?
Chair. I appreciate the comments by Mr. Searcy. However, I need to take full responsibility. Every action item that comes here has my name on it, as he said, and so I have to review all the items as well. So ultimately, it's my responsibility to have the materials ready.
I agree with everything that Mr. Searcy said, and I also think that our process is better because, you know, we met over this, we talked about it, and it didn't get heard that night. And also, there were a couple of things in there that I don't see in this, that we had concerns about the way that we were sourcing them and if they actually fit within the curriculum and the scope of what we initially laid out. So I'm glad to see a needs-dependent action item come before us tonight rather than the more robust recommendation last time. I believe Mrs. Simchek had her hand up, and then Mrs. Justice.
I just wanted to say that the project itself, it's very exciting, and it's going to be such a great opportunity for our community. So I really support that. I think each one of us in our own way spoke to superintendent. I had suggested personal employment, you know, what they call evaluation record, notation on a responsible party because, but that's his business. So I think each one of us addressed our disappointment in that, and we sit here tonight because of that sloppiness and extra time for his staff. So I think that's a shame. But these things do happen, and we'll move forward. And moving forward, it's a great project, and I think it's exciting, so I support it fully.
Mrs. Justice.
I just wanted to mention that this is specifically to purchase the welding equipment from Lincoln Electric, and they did a wonderful presentation at our workshop that we got to learn a little bit more about this program and some of the things that the students will be able to use in this program. So if anyone's interested in learning more about this, I try to direct people back to that workshop because it was extremely informative and a very exciting program.
And I will add that there's somehow in the community, there's this perception that we're paid by the meeting. So we postponed this so that board members could earn some additional income, which that is not the case. You know, it's funny because we hear that we don't meet enough, and then we call special meetings so that we can make extra money, which isn't the case. So just thought I'd clear those couple misconceptions up, and this is a great project. Anything, Mrs. Ork? No? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our next action item B, approval to purchase band uniforms for Sebastian River High School in accordance with Seminole County School Board RFP 1617034PLL. Dr. Rendell, would you explain the item, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In action item B, we're seeking approval to purchase 300 new band uniforms and 11 new drum major uniforms for Sebastian River High School. These uniforms will replace uniforms that were acquired in 2005. The cost impact will be $129,983.32. The quote is included in your backup materials. This purchase will be funded through the General Operating Fund as approved in the 17-18 budget. That was board approved on September 7th, 2017. So we had budgeted for this purchase. We're just asking for permission to go ahead and issue the purchase order.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Simchik moves approval. Mrs. Justice seconds. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I just want to say, you know, how exciting. They look pretty good, what they have on them. You know, I was noticing, it's so funny because the musical presentation we had the other night, they all look so nice in their dresses, and I was thinking, then, how many students have this gone through, and what's your rate of loss, and all the, you know, they're like this and pinned and everything. And, you know, first of all, I was in the marching band in high school. We could barely make the H for hop hog. So when I saw our high school, both of them, you know, perform so wonderfully, it's so supportive of the community. The community just really loves our marching bands. So how can you not support something like this? And I do have a question when you, and I did not ask you, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but when will Veros be due? Do we know at what cycle? If this went 13 years, at some other time, can you just?
If Mr. Morrison or Mr. Carver has that information, do you?
I don't.
I know that it was cyclical, so Vero has had new uniforms since 2005, so again, you know, we'll take care of
Hopefully we
one school,
counter
and then
them
pretty
off.
soon we'll take care of the other school, kind of thing. I think one of the things that I didn't realize that the marching uniforms at Sebastian were from 2005, and so this is an investment. They've taken great care of those uniforms for them to be able to be used this many years, so it seems like a lot of money for these uniforms, but if if the current band program, if the band director and everybody there takes as good a care of the equipment, the uniforms as they have, these will last many years. But, you know, not only did they need new uniforms, they needed more, because they are marching more students than they have equipment for at the present time. So it's a fantastic thing to have a growing band program, and we need to make sure that they have what they need.
Mrs. Justice, your second.
Thank you, sir. I understand that the booster program and the parents have actually done a lot of the caretaking of those uniforms, a lot of the alterations and a lot of, so, you know, a big shout out to band parents. And one of the things I love the most, and I love to support this, is that when I go to Sebastian and I see the marching band, there are parents there of students who no longer go to school there, that still are in the booster club, that still support the band, that come out to see them, and I'm sure will probably help to take care of these uniforms. So just a really great, thriving arts program at this school. I've heard that a student being a part of the marching band really enhances their high school education, and that's what we're here to do. So I'm happy to support this tonight.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Zork?
I just had a question.
Sure.
How many students do we have in band right now at Sebastian High School?
I don't know the number of how many that are in band. I know it's over 300 total.
Oh, it is, oh,
And he marches, he actually has to have 2 different marching bands because he can't accommodate them all at the same time.
okay. I was just curious because if we purchase 300, but we're seeing a growth next year of 325, how are we gonna accommodate the extra 25? Do we have to send that out for a bid, or?
It would be less probably than the required threshold, so we wouldn't have to do that.
My question is, why couldn't this wait until the next school board meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We noticed the issuance of the date of the issuance of the timeline. We were going to fall out of sequence in the uniform making order, and so if we hadn't passed if you do not approve the agenda item tonight, we will probably not meet the production timeline to have these uniforms at the beginning of the year.
Good. Just another question from the community. Mr. Searcy?
When did we recognize that we would not make that deadline?
Several weeks ago, but we had to get it on the agenda.
Mrs. Justice?
One of the interesting things about going down to one meeting a month, and I think we all knew that, was we could do the business of the board in that one meeting, but perhaps occasionally there would be a need to call a special meeting for something like this. And since, you know, again, we don't get paid by the meeting, but we certainly are here to serve the students and the parents and the community. So I'm happy to come to be able to support this tonight so the band has new uniforms to start the year.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none. Yes. You are recognized.
Thank you. Just to answer the question about the Vero Beach High School band uniforms, the last time they received new band uniforms was about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And now they're in the market for new hats and plumes as well as concert band uniforms. But they did receive new marching band uniforms.
Great. Thank you for that. All right. Instant fact checker. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Rendell, it's time for your report and trim calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If the members would look in the back of their folder, there is some backup material. There are 2 separate calendars that Mr. Morrison and I have put together. We have a budget building process that we engage in, that we're about to engage in each year. And we have to schedule some of these meetings. Some of the meetings have some specific statutory requirements and that kind of thing. If you've looked at the calendars at all, you might notice that the only difference is in the first 3 meetings. And those are the budget workshops. What we'd like to do is provide the board, 3 separate budget workshops. And we've talked about this at some of our earlier meetings, to kind of break the budget down by department, so we can see, what each department's needs are, what their budget amount is and that kind of thing. So we've set it up into 3 separate budget workshops. What we're asking for a little direction tonight is, would you prefer to have those budget workshops on the 2nd Tuesday of the month, when we already have workshops at 1 o'clock, but to have them in the morning, because we really can't impact the other workshops. We still have a lot of things slated that we need to cover. Or would you rather have them on the 4th Tuesday of the month, the same day as the general business meeting, beginning at 1 o'clock? I will let you know that staff's preference is the 1 o'clock on the business meetings. So that would actually be calendar A, if you have the two calendars now. For some reason, I think they printed in B was first, but calendar A is the one that the 3 budget workshops fall on the 4th Tuesday of the month each time, beginning at 1 o'clock. That way, it kind of goes back to our old format where we had a workshop and a business meeting that night. So we kind of need your direction as to when to schedule these budget workshops, because they do impact your schedule.
Mrs. Simchek?
I prefer A. How's
A.
that?
Did you hear what she said?
They both said A.
Oh.
You have 2 A's.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I
I'm
understand.
okay with either.
Okay. So it seems like we have direction. We don't need to take a motion or anything like
No
that.
vote,
Okay.
just, we
Got it.
didn't want to try and do phone calls and try to, we thought if we just had
Right.
everybody in one place, we'd
I'm
have.
happy to
Okay.
support, I'm happy
She
to
did
support whatever you'd like to do.
Thank you.
Okay, and was there anything else in the report?
No, there's nothing else in the superintendent's report. I really appreciate the comments by the board members. I appreciate them coming in tonight, special meeting, to process some purchase orders, to make some purchases that require board authority that we didn't get on the regular timeline. So I do appreciate you coming in.
Okay. All right. And there was nothing published for the discussion? Anything for discussion? Any member matters?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Justice.
Today is National Autism Awareness Day, and I'm wearing blue. I see a couple other people wearing some blue today to recognize that day. I think we've come a long way over the past couple of years as far as making sure that we're serving every student with excellence, and I hope that we continue to do that as we do work to unfold the full potential of every child in our classrooms. So just wanted to recognize that day and say that we love all of our students, and we are here to help you succeed.
Thank you. Anyone else with member matters? No? Okay. There's nothing in the information agenda. Dr. Rendell, anything for closing?
No, sir.
Okay, with anything else? No further business before the board, we are adjourned. It is 6:22. Hereby call this meeting to order. This is the April 2nd, 2018 special business meeting for pending litigation. It is 6:22. And at this time, I'd recognize our attorney, Ms. DeAgresta, for comment.
Thank you, Chairman Frost. The purpose of the meeting, board members, is I need your guidance with regard to a piece of pending litigation. The estimated duration of the closed meeting will be approximately 60 minutes. The names of those people who will be attending are the 5 school board members present here this evening, as well as Dr. Rendell. I will be present as board counsel, and Mr. Borkowski will be attending by phone as litigation counsel. We will also have a court reporter in the room transcribing the meeting. Mr. Chair, at your discretion, if you would recess the meeting, and we can then convene in the closed session. Thank you.
Okay, this time we'll recess the meeting. 7:22. And as we are not taking action, there'll be no need for public comment. And with no further business before the board, we are adjourned. 7:22.